Welcome to a webinar and a taster lecture on the BSc Accounting and Finance. A very warm welcome to the University of Southampton from me. My name is Dr. Rob Angel. I'm an Associate Professor in Marketing Research, and I'm also the Director of Internationalisation for the school. It's my great honour to be able to meet you here today, and I'm looking forward to a vivid interaction between us today. Also joining me on the call is Richard Cartwright, Principal Teaching Fellow in Accounting, and he's going to be leading you in the taster lecture, looking at the new normal, understanding the world of business post-COVID-19. So very topical stuff.
Thank you very much, Rob. Hopefully everyone can hear me over the call. I just wanted to sort of introduce myself first of all. My name's Richard Cartwright. I'm a Principal Teaching Fellow in Accounting and Finance. My particular subject specialties are financial accounting and audit. Interestingly, you'll see that my name is not prefixed with a doctor. I'm a practitioner by background, so I've spent my early career working with KPMG, helping businesses to grow, helping shareholders understand financial or to help verify the quality of their financial information. And it's with that lens that I really want to talk about the new normal under or the world of business under COVID-19. I'm going to take this opportunity just to share with you though what I think is a fundamental role of accountants. And if I'm allowed to take over the screen, then I'm going to share with you the logo that we have at the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, and in particular the Economia logo. I'm just going to make sure that the correct screen is being shared. Yeah, absolutely it is. Brilliant. So in front of you, hopefully you've got a picture of this wonderful lady called Economia. Now, she is the described as the Institute lady, and she is the logo and has been the logo of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales for the last, well, 150 years, really. What you'll see demonstrated around her, though, is a number of different characteristics. Now, those characteristics are effectively the fundamental characteristics of accounting. The rod that you see in her, well, what would be her right arm, is described as being information that, or indicative of command, and effectively the role of accountants in providing command and authority to business. You also see below her is this rudder shape here, and this rudder is to signify guidance and the role of accountants in guiding business and guiding society by providing advice. And these pincers, these dividers here, are crucial in terms of the role of accountants in terms of measurement. And that's ultimately what accounting is all about. It's about providing information that helps inform the users of that information make business decisions. And my goodness me, over the last 12 weeks, I suppose, and longer if you are from China, over the last few months, business has been moving at one heck of a pace. The decisions that institutions would normally take decades to make have had to have been made in a matter of weeks, if not days. And I can vouch for that because I'm a non-executive director at the university. I'm a member of the university's council. So I sit on the university's council, which is effectively its board, and I also am a member of the council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, and I've seen how businesses have had to go about radically changing the way that they perform things. It would be unthinkable that the university sector in the UK would be delivering online sessions within 1 or 2 weeks notice. If you had asked me that 3 months ago, that would have been unthinkable. But likewise, the profound effect on other businesses has been huge too. I want to expand upon the role of accountants, so in terms of providing advice in this current emergency. And we, as accountants, are normally the most trusted advisor of businesses. Accountants, auditors, business advisors that provide financial advice are normally the people who are consulted with earliest when times of difficulty and success come. And that's what I really want to talk about this time around in terms of the coronavirus's effect on business. I think it's relatively easy for us to continually to be doom and gloom about the economy, and there is no doubt that the vast majority of institutions and businesses are struggling. But there are instances where actually coronavirus has helped accelerate the growth of certain businesses really quite dramatically. What's the role of accountants in all of this? Well, what we need to focus on is the role of accountants both in what we call practice, and this is professional accounting practice, working for a consultancy firm like KPMG, PwC, Deloitte, or EY, or indeed the role of accountants in industry, in actually working in a business that is either successful and thriving, or potentially incredibly challenged at this point in time. Now, accountants in practice, and you may be a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, or a member of the ACCA, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, they've been pumping out lots and lots of advice. And that's because businesses at the moment are trying to make decisions on how they can radically change their business as usual to a vastly different model. You know, even if your business is a manufacturing business and you have a large factory, implementing social distancing and actually the nuts and bolts of how you go and deliver your output is probably what you're spending most of your time thinking about from a functional perspective. How do I maintain my revenue streams during this difficult period? Now, the government has come in with an awful lot of support and advice. These have been in the form of loan guarantees. They've been in form of the furlough payments being made to staff that potentially you or indeed your parents may be in receipt of. But actually, these are really complex things to manage whilst someone is trying to really or whilst organizations are desperately trying to restructure their operations so they can open as soon as they're allowed to. And the role of a professional accountant is really to work behind the scenes to help the companies that they're engaged with in order to be able to provide them advice and simplify the process of obtaining this funding, to let their companies that they're dealing with know what they're eligible for and how to go about applying for it, and in certain circumstances helping them prepare the information and perhaps a business case in terms of their eligibility. So that's what accountants in practice are dealing with. Clearly, those who are providing tax advice and providing a service of audit in terms of verifying the company's financial information will be engaging with those continued processes in a new way, in an online way. But what about accountants who actually work in business? Now, there are a number of accountants that work in business. Some are there to help prepare those financial statements that the economy relies on. So those are the accountants preparing information for external users. But there will also be those accountants that are helping businesses with their internal accounting. And let's think about the magnitude of the change of business that's been occurring. You know, up until February, companies' management accounts that they're preparing for internal purposes to let the board of directors know how profitable the business is and how much cash flow that they have were relatively normal. Unless you are working in an airline, and we've sort of seen British Airways suspend flights to China, the vast majority of businesses in the UK were just operating as normal as far as late February and early March. And as a result, people were probably preparing their investment plans. They were probably preparing budgets based on a year-on-year growth, hopefully aiming for the investment in new property, plants, and equipment, and juggling the cash flow and financing that relates to that. All of a sudden, COVID-19 sweeps across from China into Italy, into Europe, and then into the UK. And a series of close down measures were instigated. What does this mean for business? Well, first of all, the absolutely most important balance in any business is cash. Cash is so important because it's how all of all payments out to staff and suppliers are made, and of course, it's cash is received from your customers either because you sell on credit and you receive payment, or you sell in the retail space and you receive cash straight away. All of a sudden, businesses who are used to managing a normal cash flow and maybe dealing and having maybe a month's worth of cash within their business, or maybe 2 months of cash within their business with normal revenue streams coming in, are seeing a complete crunch, a real crunch in their cash position as they continue having to pay their expenses, paying their rent, paying their staff, paying their suppliers, but all of a sudden their revenue streams have completely dried up. And accountants are busy at the moment renewing their cash flow forecasts and thinking about how and when their business is going to return, not even to normal, but just being able to open at all. And if I think about this, I'm thinking about particular businesses like airlines, and working at the University of Southampton, and particularly with my wife working at Carnival PLC, the owner of Cunard and P&O Cruises, cruise lines. Cruise lines are at the moment shedding staff, having to make incredibly difficult decisions as they are effectively cancelling months of cruises at a time. How do you preserve businesses in such a period? I think we quite often look towards Apple and Amazon as businesses, and we think that all businesses are large, really resilient, and have huge piles of cash that will just allow them to continue operating as they had expected to, even when times are difficult. Times are not, times are not normal. They're incredibly difficult, and actually cash and maintenance of cash positions is probably what the vast majority of accountants are focusing on at the moment. The other accountants, maybe they're trying to restructure and think about their investment plans. So from a university perspective, we had investment plans to invest huge amounts in our physical infrastructure, and now we're having to think about when we time those. Likewise, businesses like Carnival PLC, we're in the process of building new ships, and in the interest of preserving cash and in the interest of preserving their businesses, they're looking to see what projects they can put on hold, which projects fundamentally need to carry on in order to maintain their competitive advantage when business as usual resumes. So lots of decision making going on at the moment within business, but it's not all doom and gloom. Some businesses are actually thriving. I have had the pleasure over the last few weeks to speak to a number of my contacts within business, some talking about the new operating models, others just talking about surges in demand that are really struggling to manage. I had the privilege of interviewing a former colleague of mine, a chap called Sean O'Neill, who's currently the Director of Financial Control at Wiggle, and Wiggle are a cycling firm, but they're not a traditional retailer. They're an online retailer, in fact, Europe's largest retailer of cycling. And with holidays being curtailed, cancellation of other expenditure, cycling enthusiasts, and indeed just the general public, have been clamoring for new bicycles, new indoor training gear, at such a pace that Wiggle have been really struggling to keep up. Now, part of that is just operational and delivering all of this stuff and getting it shipped out to people around the world. So that's been a really interesting challenge for them. But other bits of it are associated with their cash flow and their decision making too. They've had to negotiate with their suppliers for extended credit terms because they've got so much business coming through. They've had to try and look at their supply lines and try to buy up as much stock as they possibly can because they're struggling to obtain supplies from the Far East, where factories have been shut down for a number of months, even though they're now reopening. They're also having to deal with the fact that the amount of shipping and the amount of air freight that is available has reduced significantly with the reduced numbers of passengers flying too, because a significant amount of air cargo is actually flown in the bellies of passenger aircraft as opposed to just cargo aircraft. So some really fascinating challenges that are focusing on or challenging businesses at the moment. And the role of accountants still remains the same. It's there to provide guidance. It's there to measure the impact of this virus upon the financial statements and on the financial processes within the business. And it's also there to provide command. Crucially, accounting doesn't fall over, the principles of accounting doesn't fall over just because the method of business has changed substantially. What I want to share with you finally is our group that we have at Southampton, sorry about that, called Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap is a co-curricular activity that we have, and this is where we would normally hold events with businesses, but subsequently in the new world of COVID-19, I've been interviewing many of my colleagues at KPMG and also Sean O'Neill at Wiggle, and future conversations that I'll be having with friends at EY and other professional services firms to get that latest insight into how businesses are dealing with COVID-19, and crucially, this new world of emerging at the right pace. How do operations change? How do financial structures need to change in order for us to be able to emerge from business and also seize the benefits of some of this radical progress that we've made over the last 12 weeks. I think when you come to university in September and you stay for subsequent years, the university that you'll be studying at will have been changed for the better as a result of this leap forward in use of technology, online learning to supplement, obviously, the traditional face-to-face. And I think that's true of any business too. The lessons learned from the past 12 weeks will hopefully be seized upon to actually improve the quality of business, improve the efficiency of business, the level of home working, the time wasted in commuting and traveling, hopefully will be dramatically reduced as a result of this. And accountants have a key role in measuring these, the emergence of these new working practices, the effect of these working practices on the bottom of line of businesses, so that they can seek to take some upside from what has been a very difficult and challenging situation.